Hello gamers, this is Sai and welcome back to Which Way Games. Finally, it's Nintendo 64 time and I've been waiting ages to look at this game starring a secret agent with the codename of 007. And with that being said, let's get on with the video.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Before I start the video, I have a special announcement to make. At the end of this video, I will reveal my face, so gamers will finally be able to see what I look like, so stick around for that. Anyway, the Nintendo 64 doesn't need much of an introduction, as it's well known in gaming. Now, I could go into detail about the Nintendo 64, but I'll save that for another time. When talking with some gamers I know about the Nintendo 64, I always see that smile. Now, some might say it's nostalgia or looking back with rose-tinted glasses, but the Nintendo 64 clearly has gamers still under its spell, even now many years after its release. In the mid to late 90s, gamers saw the rise of the fifth generation of consoles, and gamers were blessed with some classic games such as Zelda Ocarina of Time, Resident Evil, Mario 64, and plenty of other titles. But in this video, I'm going to be looking at the third best-selling game for the Nintendo 64, GoldenEye. GoldenEye was published by Nintendo and developed by Rare. Rare are a British game developer and are known for developing great platforming games such as Banjo-Kazooie, Donkey Kong 64, and Conker's Bad Fur Day. Nowadays, Rare makes games for Microsoft, but back then, this partnership between Nintendo and Rare seemed like a match made in heaven. Rare and Nintendo seemed to release hit after hit, and gamers couldn't get enough. With the release of the James Bond film GoldenEye in 1995, Nintendo gave the development of a movie-based tie-in game to Rare. And with Rare's success of Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo, this was probably one of the biggest tasks given to Rare at the time. First-person shooters were dominating gaming with the likes of Doom, and subsequently a whole genre was named after the classic game from id Software. Many Doom clones were being made, and with the lack of first-person shooters for consoles, Nintendo and Rare had the opportunity to catch some of the popularity of Doom. Obviously, the Nintendo 64 had its own version of Doom, but I'll come back to that in the future. Martin Hollis, who had previously worked on an arcade version of Killer Instinct, led a small and inexperienced team to develop GoldenEye. At the time, the expectations for GoldenEye were very low, and with an unsuccessful showing at an E3 convention, many gaming magazines had a lack of interest in GoldenEye. Development took 2.5 years with many ideas brought to the table, such as emulating the success of Donkey Kong Country by suggesting GoldenEye to be a 2D platformer, or even having GoldenEye as an on-rail shooter, very much like Sega's Virtual Cop series. Luckily for gamers, these ideas never took off, and in August of 1997, GoldenEye was released. The team obviously learned a lot in the development stages, and what gamers got was one of the most well-known gems for the Nintendo 64. GoldenEye turned out to be both a critical and commercial success, selling over 8 million units worldwide. It also became the third best-selling game for the Nintendo 64, behind Super Mario 64 and Mario Kart. And it is often credited with kickstarting the first-person shooter craze on consoles, showing gamers that they could play a good and well-crafted game on a console that many deemed to be aimed at a younger audience. And for all those GoldenEye fans out there, let's go back to the 90s and see how it was advertised.
Bond, James Bond, is blasting his way onto Nintendo 64 in the game version of the hit feature film, GoldenEye. Read your case file, grab your gun and clever gadgets, then control the actions of 007, the world's most famous spy. True 3D movement, motion and character showcase the game's amazing realism, and different weapons allow you to accomplish your task covertly or not. Play solo or against a friend or foe with a 2-character split screen. Good luck, Bond!
The plot of GoldenEye sees gamers taking on the role of secret agent James Bond. Starting in 1986 in the Soviet Union, MI6 have uncovered a secret chemical weapons facility at the Bulimori Dam. James Bond and another 00 agent, Alex Trevelyan, are sent to infiltrate the facility and sabotage its operation. While on this mission, Alex is killed in action by Colonel Arkady Oryumov and Bond escapes. Many years later, Bond is investigating a satellite-controlled station where he learns a criminal syndicate are planning on using a satellite weapon to cause a global financial meltdown. This satellite weapon is codenamed GoldenEye. What follows is an action-packed campaign of espionage, weaponry and double-crossing, keeping gamers engaged and feeling like they are 007. At the time of release, GoldenEye was praised for its outstanding graphics and sound, creating a certain depth in its gameplay that really enticed gamers to finish the game in all 3 difficulty modes. And a great touch was the 4 save file slots built within the game's cartridge. This was especially handy if gamers couldn't afford a memory card at the time and didn't want to play through the whole of GoldenEye in one sitting, even though it is well worth it. These slots originally would have had previous Bond actors on each one, but due to Rare not having permission to use the likeness of the other Bonds, Pierce Brosnan's picture appears on all of them in the final version of the game. GoldenEye features 3 game modes, which are the single player campaign, multiplayer, and a cheat options menu which I'll come back to later. Having 12 missions for a single player campaign, gamers will get to act out the events of the film. Some of these missions range from the infamous dam, the facility, a jungle, and the final mission on the cradle. On most of these missions, gamers are given certain objectives that they must complete, but if they fail to complete these, then the mission is a failure and gamers will have to restart. Sometimes going into a mission guns blazing isn't always the best way to go, despite how much fun it is. Throughout GoldenEye, gamers will be treated to plenty of weaponry, and being set in the world of James Bond, expect a gadget or 2 to make an appearance. I must admit, using a sniper rifle to blast the enemy away from 200 yards never gets old, neither does laying traps for the unsuspecting enemy to come across. Speaking of the enemies in GoldenEye, the faces of the soldiers are the faces of the developers. There was a rumour that gamers would be able to import their own faces into the GoldenEye and other games using the Nintendo 64 disk drive, but sadly the disk drive was never released overseas. Obviously with most games there are different difficulty settings, and gamers are rewarded for finishing the missions quickly or using a certain difficulty. The rewards are cheats that can be used in the single player campaign, such as unlimited ammo, paint mode, and my personal favourite, DK mode. One other thing that GoldenEye is well known for is the multiplayer mode, where up to 4 gamers can battle it out in modes such as Deathmatch, License to Kill, and the Man with the Golden Gun. Gamers will gather around the Nintendo 64 controller in hand and choose their character of choice for the match. With split screen multiplayer, there was an unspoken rule of never looking at your opponent's screen, as it was classed as cheating. Also, Oddjob was banned from being chosen in the games I played with my friends, as his character model was smaller than the rest and he became a much harder target to take out. Gamers who chose Oddjob just wanted to watch the world burn. An interesting fact regarding multiplayer, this was never intended to be in the final version of GoldenEye, and was added as an afterthought. Another development idea was when the gamer had to reload their weapon, they would have to remove the rumble pack and reinsert it into the controller. Kinda like putting a magazine into a real gun. This could have been an interesting idea for the single player campaign, and just think how different the multiplayer could have been. The legacy left from GoldenEye still has gamers speaking of it today, and there are some gamers that have retro themed game nights. On these particular retro themed nights, GoldenEye always makes an appearance, as well as a few other great titles that are guaranteed to entertain. A couple of friends did come to mind, which was highly entertaining, especially when we played GoldenEye on DK mode. After the release of GoldenEye for the Nintendo 64, there were other Bond games that would follow the plot of the films released at the time. They all had their own unique qualities about them, but for me, the charm of GoldenEye always brings a smile to my face, and putting the cartridge into the Nintendo 64 takes me back to that first moment I played GoldenEye. In keeping with the GoldenEye universe, there was a PS2 game called GoldenEye Rogue Agent, where gamers would play as the next agent of MI6, but I'll come back to that in later videos. And back in 2010, GoldenEye had a revival on the Nintendo Wii. GoldenEye 007 had updated graphics, more weapons, and gamers could play as Daniel Craig, who was the new James Bond. GoldenEye 007 also took multiplayer to a whole new level with online play, and gamers could go up against one another from all over the world. Like I said though, the original for me is the best, and should be in any gamer's collection, especially for Bond fans. Now I know a lot of the older gamers and Bond fans know what happens at the end of GoldenEye, but for new gamers who haven't played this classic of a game, I don't want to spoil it. But my question is, who is the best James Bond? And now for the moment my subscribers have been waiting for. 3, 2, 1. Happy April Fools everybody. Yeah, I'm terrible, but my cat Samira didn't mind making an appearance in this video. I'm sure she'll pop up again at some point. Anyway, come back next time where fighters from all over the world compete to fight against the evil General Shadowloo and his destructive psycho power. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next game.